Coming up on Kentucky Outlook, we're going to talk with a couple of icons. Well, one in the studio and one posthumously, as we go one-on-one with the former plant manager of the Bowling Green Corvette assembly plant, Will Cooksey. We're going to find out about his book and the latest in the automotive industry. In addition, later in the half hour, we're going to find out about a posthumous honor to the former president of Western Kentucky University, Dr. Dero Downing. That's all next on Kentucky Outlook. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Kentucky Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. You know, like so many industries worldwide, the automotive industry is undergoing monumental changes. Well, as we speak, the CEO of General Motors is testifying on Capitol Hill related to the company's delayed recall responsible to a vehicle defect. Well, America's automakers are having to reinvent themselves, and they're doing so to compete globally. But amidst the changing tide is one automobile that has stood and continues to stand the test of time. That's America's automobile, the Corvette. And with us in the studio, we're going to be chatting one-on-one with Will Cooksey, the former plant manager of the Bowling Green Corvette assembly plant. Will was plant manager there from 1993 till his retirement in 2008. He's authored a book, and he's an ambassador for that automobile, and we're going to talk about so much more. Welcome to the studio, Will Cooksey. Thanks for being here. You know, also, the spotlight, the world spotlight is on Bowling Green and the Corvette museum, yes, because of a recent incident involving a sinkhole swallowing 8 of the iconic Corvettes in the museum. And for those of you that have not been out there to see that, pictures just do not do that justice, do they?
No, you're absolutely right. I know when I first went out and I heard the news like everyone else had, and I went out and I took a look at it, and I had to step back. I was amazed that it even looks much bigger in person than it does on TV. And it's terrible. It's a terrible situation, but luckily no one was hurt. And that's the thing we're thankful for, is that God is good, because we didn't have a single person hurt. And you know, that could have happened when we had the room full of people. Don't you know it? It's tremendous. Yeah.
And you know, we also were chuckling about, you know, they couldn't have picked a more perfect spot for it to happen, where there are those 8 really, some irreplaceable, iconic automobiles.
No, that's absolutely unfortunate for the fact that many of those cars are extensions of individuals' families that they had donated to the museum. So when the owners who had donated them heard about it, naturally it was like they had a distress call on one of their family members. So some of them stopped what they were doing and came to Bowling Green because they wanted to see what had happened to their prized car. And of course, like all of us, they were saddened when they saw the damage, and they remember when they brought the car, they saw the damage. But you know, General Motors did agree to do whatever they can to try to restore them. And of course, we've gotten a lot of feedback where some people would like to see them unrestored. And I would bet that there'll probably be a mixture, because some of them are really, with the last 2 that was pulled out, they're in pretty sad shape.
Pretty sad shape. Yeah. I happened to be there yesterday, and I think you were as well, when they pulled out the Spider. And to be true, you know, once you focus on that sinkhole and you get a sense of that, and then you see this vehicle coming out from the depths, and you almost feel like you're at the scene of an accident and they're bringing up the body, is how I felt.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it resembles, because you know, that's somewhat of a death situation where all those cars went down in there. They're being pulled back out, but you know, whether they'll be back to their original beauty, I hope so, but some of them probably won't make it.
No, and to be true, just what you're saying, and you're listening to the emotion in the voice here and in our descriptions, there is such an emotional bond to this iconic sports car, the Corvette. And what an honor. First of all, let me tell you, the guy in the studio here, he has a Z06 named for him, a limited edition Corvette model.
Yeah, 427 special edition. And in 2008 is when you know, I was first presented with the concept and the idea, and had a nice discussion with the Chevrolet representative, Harlan Charles, and he was the marketing guy who got with me on numerous occasions to try to build other products for them. And so what he had done is he decided to not really tell me about the autographed special edition. He just wanted to see if I'd build a car. And so after we had a discussion about how did I like this, how do you like this, and he says, would you be willing to build this? And of course, I was kind of procrastinating a little bit. And so when he said, oh, by the way, we want you to autograph all of these in special recognition, you're getting ready to retire and you've done such a great job, I said, hey, no problem, we can do this.
Because what he's saying is, so this guy comes to you and he goes, we want to do this, but we're going to have to do it a little sooner than you really want to. So you were sort of, but then, maybe not such a bad thing.
I said, well, yeah, we could do this. Yeah.
That's quite an honor. And in 2013, you were inducted to the Corvette Hall of Fame. That's an honor.
Yeah, that was one of the most outstanding things that happened in my life. To be recognized by people who love the product and love the work that you've dedicated your life to. And so, you know, I'm very appreciative to all the customers and the people out there. I continue to be active in the Corvette community by doing more of what I was doing before. I try to do more Corvette events, talk to more customers, and if a customer's got a question, I try to answer it. And if they need some contact within GM, I still have a few contacts.
An outstanding ambassador for the Corvette. So let's talk a little bit about, as I mentioned in the introduction to the show, Capitol Hill, we have the CEO of General Motors testifying. You know, there are recalls. You had to deal with those kinds of things. Okay, I'm not saying a recall necessarily, but just the way that the nature of the beast, okay, and the way it's changing. In your tenure with General Motors, did you see a lot of changes?
Yeah, an awful lot of changes take place in an industry like the automobile industry. If you go back and, you know, just review some history and you see when Henry Ford created, you know, the line where they were every car, you could have any color you wanted as long as it was a black one. And, you know, there's been a lot of things done, some in the interest of trying to cover a customer, I guess you might say, a request, because customers want this, they want that. So you got to give them what they want, but you also have a number of federal regulations that you got to adhere to because you want to keep people safe. And so sometimes the gadgetry that people want, sometimes you don't have as much time as you'd love to have to check it, error-proof it where there's no possible way that something ever happened. So I think any industry has to make decisions as when it's time to make something for sale, and then when it's time to not sell the product.
And be responsible for that. Well, under your leadership at the Corvette assembly plant, you really kicked things up, and you know, you brought back a certain respect for the whole industry, and certainly for that automobile, that iconic automobile. What is it about that?
Well, you know, the thing of it is when you look back at all the previous managers before I got there, I had the great fortune to be a Corvette enthusiast when I got here. Whereas I could have come here with that job and looked at it as just another job.
Just another car.
But it was something that I already loved. I had Corvette in my blood already. And a number of the people here in Bowling Green, I'd worked with them at one time back in St. Louis. So it was sort of like a homecoming for me. But I had been to other factories and talked to other workers, and I saw how much was being done in other locations. And I was a part of some of the things that were being done, moving in the right direction, getting better at what we were all about. And so when I came to Bowling Green, you know, I was bursting with ideas, but also I wanted to see where we were here in Bowling Green in '93. So I just kind of spent time talking to the employees, kind of see what did they like, what they didn't like. And then I spent a lot of time with customers to find out what they liked and didn't like. And I already had my own personal list. and so
you merged those two
So
babies.
I merged all that together, and then I started asking questions within the organization, the corporation. Why haven't we really given this attention? And of course, you know, as usual, you get a lot of people telling you why it hasn't been looked at. But then you start not taking excuses as an answer, and you put more pressure to bear wherever you need to, chief engineer, wherever, to make certain that they start addressing the things that the employees have issues with, that the customers have issues with, that you have issues with, and in due time things start falling together.
You know, the future of automobiles, certainly, you know, we've got push-button cars for the most part. They'll parallel park for you. We have the cameras that may be standard one day. You take that concept, okay, but then you take a Corvette where it's all about the handling and it's about the hands-on. How do you balance that?
Well, you know, sometimes we have to kind of look back and make certain we know who our customer is. You know, we'd love to sell more cars in Europe, and we do a lot of things to make certain that maybe our European customers like the product. But we have to be careful too, because, you know, we depend on our customers here in America, and they actually have been faithful. They have stuck with us for many years. When we weren't that good, now we are better, and they're right there for us. And when you look at the average customer that we have, they're not out there on the racetrack at Nuremberg. You know, they're not out there on the Autobahn doing 200 miles an hour. You know, as a matter of fact, most of our customers couldn't even handle the real potential of the car. They would have to go to driving school to learn how to handle a Corvette to its fullest potential.
So they just want to sport that vehicle.
But they just want to have the power. They want to have bragging rights.
Yeah.
So we give it to them.
Indeed you do. Now, when we talk about a Corvette enthusiast, and I might warn my director, Josh, we're going to go a little bit over here, but when we talk about, we have the National Corvette Homecoming, which happens, Joe Pruitt is with us, he's the director of that, he's in the studio with us, but that is, if anyone's ever attended that, it happens in Bowling Green. It's amazing, the love that these people have, the passion for these cars.
Absolutely. You know, I've been working for Joe for a long time. When he first bought the business from some other guys, and I had a discussion in my office and explained to him, I said, Joe, I said, you know, I'm there for you to help you. I said, but I hope you can take it up to the next level, because where it's been in the past, you know, moving it around, having it at different times, I don't think that worked too good. And I said, you know, you guys can do some things differently. Don't move it around so much, and let's work more at doing things that the customers like. And I can work with you. I've been working with him ever since.
It's amazing. And you talk about Europe and wanting to get more. It's amazing how many people will come to Bowling Green, Kentucky from all over the world.
Oh, they love Corvettes.
Because they love Corvettes. Oh, yeah. Let's talk a little bit, before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about you. Now, you've written this book, and I found something. You'd written to your plant. You have had a publication within the Corvette plant there, and you wrote in the Performance Press, and I quote, "As a young man serving in Vietnam, I was surrounded by loss and despair. It was at that time of reflection in my life when I made a promise to myself." This is Will Cooksey.
That's true.
And that promise was, if I made it out of here alive, Vietnam, I will not settle for average any longer. I will set my sights high and strive for the best.
That's absolutely true.
And that's what you aspire to.
And that's what I learned a lot over there. And when I came back, I made certain that I was a better individual too, and I learned to have a little bit more fun and to do a better job of working with people. You can't do anything by yourself. One of the things I used to tell the people at the plant, whenever we had a plant meeting and I'd be in front of them talking to them to try to get them to go along with me and what I was trying to do, I always told them, if Will Cooksey is the only one that wants something to change and get better around here, we're not going to make it. Because I can't do it by myself. I said, you guys got to sign up. So I finally convinced them.
And they signed up.
They
did.
Yeah.
So you decided to write a book. The book is called No Time to Cry, Wilmer Cooksey. People don't know that's your real first name, Wilmer Cooksey. Plant manager at the Bowling Green Corvette Assembly Plant, 1993 to 2008. Why'd you write a book?
Well, you know, I was going out to campuses, and I started doing some recruiting. So when I'd go on college campuses and I would talk to young people, naturally they'd always wonder what road you travel to get to where you are, because they may want to go that way themselves. And in trying to explain, it's hard to do it in an hour or 30 minutes, whatever time you got in a classroom. And so I had promised all my enthusiasts that when I retire, I'm going to make certain that I try to put together my life experiences all the way from childhood all the way up to getting inducted into the Corvette Hall of Fame. And it will be all in chronological sequential order, so you can read it and you'll see what obstacles I had to take on in the whole 9 yards. So my wife, if it had not been for Dr. Elizabeth Cooksey, I would have never made it, I can tell you, because she's a pretty solid individual, and I'd probably still be writing on the book if it wasn't for her, because I was kind of doing it old-fashioned way. You know, I had notes upon notes and pictures, and
she focused you.
So she said, "Hey," says, let's take this documentation and let's go to, I think I used Microsoft Word, and then we ended up putting it on Word, and then you could move paragraphs around.
Oh, yeah.
You could do a lot that I wasn't able to do, and so I must give her credit. She is a lot better at the English language than I am.
Well, and behind every great man, there's always a great woman.
Oh, yeah.
And Elizabeth, and there's a segment in the book here where you talk about how she used to sew for you, and you were known as quite the sharp dresser, but she sewed for you.
She's very talented, and even today some people say, "Is your wife still making your clothes?" I said, "No, I wish she was, but no, she didn't have time."
No time. So you wrote the book because you wanted to just put it all out there in one document.
Right.
But what are you hoping people take away?
Well, you know, the feedback I've been getting is very inspirational. You know, I had some life experiences similar to that. It says, my kid needs to read this. It says, you showed where it might appear that there's no hope, that there is hope, that you need to stay focused. You showed in the book where don't let anyone define who you are. You decide what you want to be and work toward that. Don't wait until an opportunity is in front of you, and now you said, I'm going to look to see if I'm prepared for that opportunity. You get prepared for the opportunity before it presents itself. You know, work ahead. And so I've been really satisfied with the comments I'm getting back. And some people say, well, you know, I see some sad things happen in your life. I cried doing that part. And they say, well, there's some things I celebrated. It was happy. It says, my emotions went up and down as I was reading the book. And I said, I guess we must have did a good job on the book then. Got
you emotional. Well, continued success to you. If they want to find the book, it's called No Time to Cry, Wilmer Cooksey Jr. They can find it on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon has got it on there, .com. You've got it on barnesandnoble.com, and there's probably a number of other websites that's got it out there now. You got ebook, you got them all, and plus, I also have some that I can personally autograph.
There you go. And we've got him here in the studio. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Hey, thank you, Barb.
We've been talking with Will Cooksey Jr., the former plant manager of the Bowling Green Corvette assembly plant, now author, and the Hall of Fame, and the Corvette Hall of Fame, and also a man who has a Corvette named after him. Don't go away. Kentucky Outlook continues, and when we come back, we're going to talk about another icon posthumously, Dr. Dero Downing. Stay with us. Kentucky Outlook continues. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're glad you joined us. Well, in the first half of the program, we met a living icon, Will Cooksey, the former manager of the Bowling Green Corvette assembly plant. We're going to spend the second half of the program paying a posthumous tribute to another icon in these parts, Dr. Dero Downing. Welcome Stan Reagan and Jack Wright, if you will, to learn more about the Dr. Dero Downing Environmental Stewardship Award. Now, we might make mention that Stan Reagan is the Warren County Environmental Planning and Assistance Director. I just gave you a director title there too, okay? And Jack Wright joins us. He's with the Warren County Stormwater Management Division. And so an environmental award in honor of Dr. Downing. And this, you know, for people who know Dr. Downing, they may know many parts of his life, many facets, but may not realize how big he was about the environment, about personal responsibility and personal cleanliness. Talk about that.
Dr. Downing had just an in-ground personal ethic of taking care of her surroundings, and he believed that it was a responsibility of everyone to take care of those things around themselves, especially when that, being like the campus of Western, is the property of another person. So Dr. Downing made it a habit to bend over and pick up trash along the sidewalks and the streets, and actually made a week event out of it, sometimes with his family. On Sundays they would go out and pick up trash along the campus.
Alex Downing, his son, talks about that, doesn't he? He says, yes, many a weekend we'd be out there, and often on the hill on Western's campus picking up trash.
But it was one of those things that Dr. Downing had a reputation for among all the other great things that he did for the campus and for Western. And it was one of those things that of all the people that we could think of that people would know cared about something like that, Dr. Downing just seemed to be the person that we would want to name an award after. And we talked to him about within a year of his death, and he was very pleased to and humble to accept the honor.
He was given the honor in 2010, wasn't he?
That's correct.
Yes, he was given the environmental honor. So what we're talking about here is if you know someone that you'd like to nominate for this great honor, you can do so. So what are we looking for? Someone who is a steward of the environment?
Right. We've had several winners. We've had one each year since Dr. Downing won the award. And each of those individuals brought something different to the environmental scene. And that's part of why we're appealing to the public to reach out and think of somebody maybe we haven't thought about, to make sure we recognize those people who've taken actions that we all can follow. And again, Dr. Downing, the award is named after him because his actions were such that we could follow. And Stan was talking, and I do recall having been on campus when he was here on campus, and actually I was a student, and it was just a really good remembrance of the leadership he showed to all of us by leading by example. He didn't tell us we needed to do it, he actually did it.
How are we faring? Because I am of the generation where I remember a time where we had to have an advertising campaign for the nation to remind them with a Native American crying at all the trash that had been scattered about. So, you know, are we at a place where people are paying attention, where we're being better stewards in general of our environment?
Well, unfortunately, citing some Keep America Beautiful surveys that have been done, that old ad campaign with the
Native
crying
American?
Indian,
Yeah.
it still to this day works. The statistics show that that older generation, which is me and some others around us,
The boomers.
the boomers, they are less likely to throw litter out the trash than their children and grandchildren today.
There you go. So now, less likely. So we are hoping that they will lead by example, as Dr. Downing did, to a new generation. So how do we reach out to a new generation? We do different and exciting things. You get in rivers with your pants rolled up, right?
Right. Stan did mention that, but that advertising commercial that just recently aired here locally was to encourage people to think about what's in their water. And actually, I was standing in the creek with some Drakes Creek middle school students, showing them how we sample the water and actually test to see what's in the water, and cause an awareness of the fact that, you know, what we do put in and near the streams winds up in the streams and ultimately in the water treatment plant and those kinds of things. So it is important, and so we are trying to encourage people. And as I noted, it was the Drakes Creek Middle School students I was with, and we're trying to reach the younger people to make sure they understand that importance.
Start in elementary school. You know, at the first half of the show, we had Will Cooksey, the former plant manager of the Bowling Green Corvette plant, and we were talking about the situation with the sinkhole at the Corvette Museum. Anyone who knows anything about these parts knows that we are located on a karst terrain. We're located on caves. That certainly affects our environment, doesn't it? I mean, do we have to be even more careful about things that go down?
Certainly do, because they enter our groundwater system so much more quickly than they would a lot of other places. We don't have the luxury of filtering system as it goes down into the groundwater system like a lot of places do. A lot of times the things that you discharge pretty immediately get into our groundwater system, and it is more critically important here where we live.
Critically important. So what can we do as human beings who live in these parts? If you're watching this show, you live in these parts. What can we do to be better about our environment?
Well, one thing that we really stress in our office is that everyone sign up for garbage collection and do away with the burn barrel and that type of thing.
Oh, you mean rather than taking care of their garbage by burning it on their property, actually sign up for garbage collection?
For the past several years, the county has worked with the Commonwealth of Kentucky in doing the Kentucky Pride illegal open dump cleanup grants, and we've probably cleaned up close to 450 dump sites throughout the county. Some of those were old community dumps that had thousands of tires in them and things that you would just typically throw away back then. And we've gotten people to see that their land looks a whole lot better without that on there, and we've actually had places where we've gone in and cleaned those dumps, and that property value increased, and after that was gone, property around it began to be developed, or people took care of their property better.
Increased in value. So it affects us all.
Right.
Certainly. So if someone is interested in finding out, for example, how do I dispose of something properly, tires, other things that I might want to, household hazards, who can they call to find out that information?
Well, we like to refer people to the Warren County webpage, which is www.warrencountygov.com. And there's a lot of information there from Jack's department as well as my department about how to manage stormwater and how to manage solid waste. And also there are very good resources on the Kentucky website of kentucky.gov.
Yeah, kentucky.gov. We're just about out of time. We want to encourage people to think about and maybe nominate someone for the Dero Downing Environmental Stewardship Award. And this is someone who is indeed a good steward of the environment.
And with that, I would plug last year's winner was David Chapman. He took the initiative. He didn't wait for people to go out. For years, he's picked up the trash in his neighborhood. And that's really what we're looking for, the person that makes an impact where they live. And David Chapman certainly did that.
Making an impact where you live, just like you two gentlemen. Stan Reagan, Jack Wright with Warren County Government, and we were talking about the Dero Downing Environmental Award. Go to the website address again.
www.warrencountygov.com.
warrencountygov.com. That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Kentucky Outlook. My thanks to my guests and Will Cooksey, who joined us earlier. Until next time, I'm Barbara Deeb.